Welcome to the Funny Carpenter. Today we got a quick little video to take a look at one of the most important things in all of carpentry. How to use a paintbrush. We'll take a step-by-step look at how to get professional results cutting in along the ceiling. That's a wrap. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get yourself a quality brush. This is the Worcester Alpha 2.5 inch brush. I've had this thing for about a year. Now the thing that I like about this brush is the bristles are stiff enough that you can carry a nice line and get into the tight corners, yet silky smooth, so you're going to get a nice smooth line without all those bristle marks. And the best thing about these brushes is they clean super nice. I just use warm water and a little kitchen brush and just brush them out like that. I've had this 3-inch version of the brush for 5 years, and look at this thing. It's still in great shape. I still use it all the time. I usually store them in the little packs that they come, and that just protects the bristles from getting kinked. You want to avoid that. Yeah, I'll put a link in the description for this brush. I ordered this one off Amazon Prime. I think it was around 22 bucks Canadian. Second thing that I recommend for cutting in is a nice cut pail. The nice thing about this pail is it can fit nicely on your hand, so it's always easy to hold. It's also got this awesome little magnet in the back here, which can hold the brush. It also has a nice little lip here, so you'll see as we get into it, but when you dip into the paint, and you just brush it off on the lip. Yeah, so next thing you want to do is open up your paint. If you don't have one of these little 5-in-1 paint tools, that's a handy tool. This is Richards. You can grab these at the Home Depot. If there's a link, I'll put a link in the description. Yeah, they're awesome for opening up paint. You can hammer the lid back down. They're essential for cleaning out rollers. You just wring the roller out with this and it takes all the paint off there. You wet the roller down, you wring it out again. Super handy. Yeah, so you always want to give your paint a little bit of a stir unless you've just gotten back from the paint store and they've just shaken it. So you want to stir that up. I usually stir it up for a little longer than I want to. And make sure you kind of get along the bottom there. I think that's where some of the solids sit. This is a bit of a makeshift stir stick here, but that's fine. Yeah, so when you fill up your cut bucket, especially in the handy pail here, when you're gonna have the brush sitting in there, don't fill it up too much. You don't want the brush sitting in there. Yeah, so the next key step of the process, get yourself the right type of ladder that allows you to get your head as close to the ceiling as possible without having to crouch down. What you want to avoid is getting too low and looking up. I mean, you can do it, it's tricky, but if you can get your head up near the ceiling, then you're looking straight across. And as you're cutting in, it's easy to see how close you are to the ceiling. You're way less likely to hit the ceiling this way. When you're reaching up like this and you're kind of getting tired, that's when you're gonna make a mistake and hit the ceiling. All right, let's paint something. You know, one thing to point out with these angled brushes, if you haven't used them before, you're not painting along flat like this. You're holding them on a bit of a 45 angle, and that'll get a nice drag, and you'll be able to you'll see on the top edge, you'll form a little line, and you can just take that line and kind of run it down the ceiling. So yeah, when I start off in a corner, so I'll load up the brush with a dip, I'll give it a wipe off. When I do a corner, you you plant the heel, rock the tip into the corner there, and just give it a little jiggle, and that'll just loosen the paint off there. Right in the edge. And it'll come out, and I'll also just do a little cut down. And if I'm hitting one corner, I'll usually go both ways, and that way you're not kind of cutting into drying paint. Sometimes it takes a few little swipes to get right up to the ceiling. It's always best to approach the ceiling. Especially if you're new to painting and you don't have a ton of confidence, what you can do is we'll load up the brush here. You're coming into the ceiling. Don't even get near the ceiling. Just get some paint flowing along the ceiling. Come back and then get up to the ceiling. Maybe even if it takes 2 or 3 passes, that way you get a feel and you're not painting the ceiling. Makes it a lot easier to do. And again, like a nice 2 2 or 3 inches down from the ceiling is plenty to roll into. Yes, the last thing I'll mention about cutting in is the drag and how you hold the paintbrush. I like to kind of hold it in the tips of my fingers a little bit. And what you want to do is get yourself, you don't want to be just going like this, the paint is not going to get on the wall. You want to press in, and then you want to just drag the brush along, keeping the same kind of pressure, and that kind of spreads the paint evenly. But don't mind the background laundry noise. My wife was getting a little impatient. She's like, "Are you done making this video already? I need to get some laundry going." So apologies for that. So just drag it along. And there's nothing saying that you can't use the paintbrush in either hand. I'm right-handed, but I actually find that my left hand is just as good at cutting in as my right hand. And it's nice to give your right hand a little break. And then depending on which way you're going around the room, it just works out better sometimes. So yeah, you give that a nice little drag, come back, cut it down to about 3 inches. And it's looking great. Yeah, so when you come back, and say if you have like a little run or something like that, that's the point where you don't want to be dragging. At that point, you want to just be feathering across and smoothing it out. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions at all, just leave them in the comments. Check out my channel. I've got lots of handy tips on there.